First story, Strikes in the Dark, the Blackwood Bowling Alley Haunting. I never believed in curses. Ghost stories were fun around campfires, sure, but in real life, I thought they were just ways to explain away tragedy. That was until the night I decided to sneak into the old Blackwood bowling alley. Everyone in town knew the stories. Blackwood, Oregon, population barely over 3,000, had a reputation, but nothing like the alleys. Closed down back in 1999 after a freak accident, people said the place was cursed. A pin setter malfunctioned, a man was crushed, but the official report was vague. They said it was inconclusive. Growing up, we dared each other to go there. Nobody did, until I did. It was late September, chilly. I had just turned 20 and felt invincible. I had my GoPro, flashlight, a thermos of gas station coffee, and no sense of caution. I slipped through a broken emergency door in the back, the metal groaning behind me as I entered. The smell hit first: mildew, oil, and something metallic, blood-like. The lights were long dead, but my flashlight revealed dust-covered lanes, the ball return systems gutted and wires hanging like veins. Pins lay scattered across the wooden floors like forgotten bones. I remember thinking, this is just decay, just time doing what it does. And then the lanes lit up. I froze. Not flickered, lit up one by one from lane 1 to lane 10, the overheads buzzing to life as if someone flipped a master switch. I whispered, "No way." The GoPro caught it all, but it didn't catch what I heard next. A heavy thud like a ball dropping onto wood. Then no one was there. The ball came from the farthest lane, lane 10, and slowly rolled toward the pins. It curved slightly as if guided by an invisible hand, and strike! Every pin fell with a violent crash that echoed down the alley. I started to back up, but then the overhead screen on lane 10 flickered. A name appeared. Danny. That's my name. I hadn't touched anything. The screen glitched, letters rearranging. Daniel! Die, Daniel! The lights shut off. Pitch black. I bolted. My flashlight bounced, barely lighting the sticky floors as I ran for the exit, but it wasn't there. The emergency door was gone. Just a smooth wall now. I turned around, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my ears. The lanes were lit again. But now there was a man standing at the end of lane 5. He wore a bowling shirt, red and faded. His head was tilted at an unnatural angle, like his neck had been crushed. One eye was missing. He raised a hand, not to wave, but to point. At me, I screamed and ran toward the front entrance. Locked, boarded from the outside. Then I heard it again. Thud! Roll! Strike! Another lane. I turned. Now lane 1 had a message. One game. Lane 2 lit up. Play or stay. Lane 3, 3 strikes, you're dead. And then a ball rolled to my feet. I didn't pick it up. I couldn't move. The man was now at lane 4, closer. I tried screaming, but my voice cracked. My limbs felt heavy, like the air was thick with tar. I picked up the ball. My fingers slid into the holes, cold and wet. Lane 1 lit again. Your turn. I rolled it. It curved unnaturally. Another strike. The lanes cheered. Not real cheering. Distorted, broken voices playing from invisible speakers. It sounded like children in static. Lane 2. I rolled again. Strike. The man stepped onto the approach. He was smiling now, skin cracking at the edges. Final roll. The ball was heavier now. It smelled like dirt and rot. My fingers bled as I gripped it. I rolled. Strike. But it didn't stop. The ball hit the pins and shattered them. Splinters flew, and then the alley fell silent. The man vanished. The door reappeared. I didn't wait. I ran out into the cold night air, collapsing on the sidewalk. When I uploaded the GoPro footage later, it was corrupted. Just static and low moaning. But there was one still frame, one clear image. Me, standing on the approach, with a man behind me, his hand on my shoulder, smiling. I've never bowled again, but I still hear the pins fall, every night at exactly 3:17 a.m. Second story, the 11th frame. It started one rainy night in a small town called Elmdale, Oregon. I had just moved there for work, some desk job that paid the bills but drained my soul. On weekends, I'd wander the streets alone, looking for something, anything to distract me. That's when I saw the old neon sign, flickering red and blue, Kingpin Lanes, open till midnight. The place looked like it hadn't been touched since the 80s. Faded posters of bowling tournaments, dusty vending machines, and a weird smell that hovered somewhere between popcorn and mildew. It had charm. Something about it pulled me in. Maybe it was the music. Maybe it was the emptiness. The first few visits were uneventful. A few local teens hanging out, an old man at the bar nursing flat beer. But then I noticed something odd. It was the 11th lane. There were only supposed to be 10. 10 lanes, just like the sign said. But tucked in the corner, behind a tattered curtain, was another. Faintly lit, silent. I asked the cashier about it, a skinny kid named Derek with acne scars and a Metallica hoodie. His face went pale. "Man, don't go back there," he muttered. "That lane's been shut since forever. Some crazy shit happened." When I pressed him, he shrugged, said something about a guy who bowled a perfect game and then never left. Disappeared right there. The cops found his shoes, his wallet, even his damn car outside. But not him. I thought it was a gimmick. Urban legend stuff. But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next weekend, the storm came. Lightning lit up the sky like a strobe light. Streets were flooding, power lines down, and yet, somehow, Kingpin Lanes was still open. I stepped inside. Empty. Not even Derek. No lights. Just the glow of the vending machine buzzing near the entrance. The rest was dark, silent. Except, from the back of the alley, a sound. Crash, roll, thud. A ball being thrown down that lane, the 11th one. I don't know what compelled me, but I moved toward it. Every hair on my body stood up. I felt like I was walking through water, like something was pressing against me. But I made it to the curtain. Behind it, a single lane, polished, gleaming, and a ball rolling slowly back to the rack. I blinked. No one there. Then the scoreboard flickered on. My name. My name. I hadn't typed anything in, hadn't swiped a card, but there it was, frame 1. The ball was warm, too warm. I picked it up. It felt like something pulsed inside, like a heartbeat. I bowled. Strike. Of course it was. The pins flew like paper. The machine reset before I even blinked. Frame 2. Another strike. I couldn't stop. Something wouldn't let me. My arms moved like they were guided. I didn't feel in control. My breath grew short. My vision blurred. But I bowled. Frame 5. I heard whispers. Frame 7. The alley began to change. The walls melted. The posters bled ink. The floor pulsed like skin. I turned to leave, but the curtain was gone. Just bricks. Solid. Frame 8. A face in the ball return. Pale, smiling, watching me. Frame 9. I heard the name, Matthew Delaney. The man who vanished. He whispered in my ear, though he was nowhere to be seen, "You can't stop until you finish." Frame 10. I bowled. Strike. Frame 11. There is no 11th frame in bowling, but the scoreboard said otherwise. The numbers glitched. The lights flickered. Then the name changed. Not Matthew. Mine. Died in frame 11. My body froze. I felt a tearing inside me, like something pulling me out from behind my own eyes. I screamed, but no sound came. Just darkness. When I woke up, I was behind the bar. Wearing Derek's hoodie. My hands were older, scarred. The mirror showed a face I didn't recognize. Someone came in. A stranger. Asked me about the 11th lane. My mouth opened before I could think. "Man, don't go back there," I muttered. "That lane's been shut since forever. Some crazy shit happened." And I knew. I could never leave. Third story. The lanes beneath Hollow Creek. I never liked bowling alleys. Something about the synthetic shine on the lanes and the echo of pins crashing in the distance always made my skin crawl. But when my friend Kyle suggested a road trip to Hollow Creek, Oregon, and raved about this underground vintage bowling alley called the Gutter King, I didn't want to be the buzzkill. It was Friday night when we pulled into town. Hollow Creek looked like one of those postcard towns you see in old gas station brochures. Quiet, too quiet. The Gutter King was hidden beneath an abandoned theater, accessible only through a rusted stairwell that spiraled deep underground. No signs, no lights, just a handwritten note on the door that read, "Only true bowlers knock twice." We laughed at the cheesiness, knocked twice, and the door creaked open by itself. Inside, the air was stale, thick with the scent of mildew and old popcorn. Neon signs flickered above lanes that looked untouched since the 1950s. A jukebox played a warped version of Earth Angel over and over. And there were people, at least a dozen, bowling in complete silence, their faces expressionless, pale as porcelain. We found an empty lane. The balls were heavier than normal, oddly warm, like they'd been held too long. I remember Kyle whispering, "Feels like these balls have a heartbeat." I laughed it off. The first time I bowled, the ball curved sharply and landed in the gutter, but instead of the usual thunk, I heard something else. A shriek. Faint, but there. I turned to Kyle. He was staring at the lane. "Dude, did you hear that?" I nodded, but the others kept bowling like nothing had happened. We kept playing, and every time a ball went into the gutter, the sound got louder. Groans, scraping, whispers. My stomach tightened. The floor beneath our feet felt less stable, like the wood was breathing. I leaned over the edge of the lane and looked into the gutter. There was movement. Not rats, not dust. Hands. Pale, thin hands reaching up through the shadows, scraping at the wood at the ball return system. Kyle grabbed my arm. "We need to leave. Now." We turned to go, but the exit door had vanished. The staircase we came from? Gone. Replaced by a wall of lockers, all slightly open, all creaking softly. The bowlers around us turned in unison. Their faces had changed, sunken eyes, black veins crawling across their cheeks. One of them pointed at the scoreboard. Our names had changed, not Kyle and Josh, but Strike 1 and Final Frame. "We're next," Kyle whispered. We ran, dodging lanes, pushing past the silent bowlers, but every corner we turned led us back to lane 13. That's when we saw it, a sign hanging above the lane that hadn't been there before. "Score a strike or stay forever." Kyle picked up a ball, his hands shaking. One shot. He bowled. The ball moved unnaturally fast, spinning in jerks like it wasn't rolling but being pulled. It struck, all 10 pins down. The lights flickered, the ceiling cracked, and Kyle was gone. No sound, no scream, just gone. I stood frozen. My turn. I picked up a ball. It was hot, like fire in my hands. I stepped up, aimed, and rolled. The ball veered left, gutter. The shriek returned, louder, unbearable. The floor beneath me cracked open and hands, dozens, shot up, grabbing my legs, pulling me down. I screamed. I fought, but they were strong. Angry. Just before darkness swallowed me whole, I saw the scoreboard. My name now read, "Permanent Lane Resident." I woke up, or I think I did. I'm still here, somewhere beneath the Gutter King. I hear balls rolling, pins falling. I see people, new ones. They laugh, bowl, and don't hear the whispers. Don't see the cracks. If you ever find yourself in Hollow Creek, don't knock twice. Some lanes never let you leave. Fourth story, the 10th Lane Whispers. It all started one rainy Thursday night in a quiet suburb outside of Portland, Oregon. I was 19. Working the late shift at Thunderstrike Bowl, a rundown bowling alley that should have been condemned years ago. The floors creaked, the pins didn't reset half the time, and the air always smelled like mildew and burnt popcorn. But the owner, Jerry, paid cash under the table, so I didn't complain. That night, something felt off. The parking lot was emptier than usual, and even the flickering neon sign seemed dimmer. I clocked in, grabbed my mop, and started my rounds. There was only one customer, a pale man in a dark hoodie, sitting silently by lane 10. He hadn't ordered food, hadn't bowled a single frame, just sat there staring at the pins. Around midnight, I decided to approach him. "Hey man, you good? We close soon." He didn't answer. He just stood up and walked toward the lane. No shoes, no bowling ball. I was about to repeat myself when all the lights cut out. Total darkness, except for lane 10. That lane stayed lit, pins perfectly aligned. Ball return humming like nothing happened. I called out, "Jerry, you messing with the power again?" No answer. Then I heard the sound. Not a crash, not footsteps, a whisper. "Strike." I spun around. No one. The man was gone. But when I looked back at lane 10, a ball rolled down the lane on its own, slow and smooth. It hit the pins. Strike. I took a step back. Then another. My heart pounded like a drumline. I turned to run, but the sticky floor held my feet like glue. Behind me, the whisper returned, louder now. Frame 2. Another ball appeared, rolled itself. Strike. "Nope, I'm done," I said out loud, yanking my feet free. I sprinted toward the exit, but the doors were locked, chained from the outside. Panic surged through me. I grabbed my phone. Dead. No signal. Frame 3. I turned just in time to see the pins reset themselves. No machine moved. They just stood back up, perfectly. The alley changed. The lights above each lane flickered back on, but everything was wrong. The floors were now wet and covered in old bloodstains. The carpet squished beneath my shoes. On the walls, pictures of people I'd never seen before. all with their eyes scratched out. Then I saw lane 10 again. Now it wasn't just lit, it was glowing. And standing at the end of it was the man. But he wasn't a man anymore. His face stretched unnaturally long, his mouth open in a wide grin filled with far too many teeth. He raised one bony hand and pointed straight at me. "Your turn." I shook my head, stumbling backward. Frame 4. Another strike. I screamed, begged, cried. Nothing changed. The alley wanted the game to finish. One by one, the frames continued. Every time I tried to hide, the ball would roll. Strike! I tried smashing the window with a chair. It bounced off like rubber. I tried calling 911 on the landline. All I got was static. And then, frame 7. I vomited. Fell to my knees, my vision blurred. Frame 8. I crawled into the supply closet, slammed it shut, turned off my flashlight. I stayed there, counting my breaths, praying it would end. But then the door creaked open. He was there. Frame 9. I blacked out. When I woke up, it was morning. Sunlight streamed through the windows. The chains were gone. So was the man. Everything looked normal, clean even. No blood, no whispers, no glowing lanes. Jerry walked in with coffee, saw me lying on the floor. "Rough night, huh? You kids party too hard?" I didn't say a word. I just quit that day. A month later, I saw something on the news. Another bowling alley, 2 towns over, had burned to the ground. The only lane left standing was lane 10, and the security cam footage showed a dark figure rolling strikes, over and over, until the fire took everything else. Fifth story. The pins never fall. I never liked bowling alleys. Something about the sound of pins crashing, that constant echo like distant thunder, always made my skin crawl. Still, when my best friend Mark suggested we drive down to Black Hollow for a weekend getaway and check out the town's old bowling alley, Hollow Lanes, I said yes. I wish I hadn't. Black Hollow was a forgotten town in northern Pennsylvania, the kind of place where the gas stations still have mechanical pumps and people stare at you like they know your whole life story. We booked a cheap motel and decided to explore the area before it got dark. Mark was obsessed with urban legends, and he told me Hollow Lanes had a history. In the 1970s, a man named Raymond Keller, a former professional bowler, went insane during a tournament and killed 3 people with a bowling pin. They said he believed the pins were alive, whispering things to him, urging him to strike. He vanished before police could catch him. Some say he never left the alley. We laughed it off. I mean, how could pins whisper, right? That night, we found the building. Hollow Lanes looked abandoned. Boarded windows, paint peeling off in thick curls, the neon sign still faintly glowing like it hadn't realized the place was dead. Mark managed to pry open a back door, and the 2 of us slipped inside, using our phone lights to navigate. It was cold. Not just normal cold, it felt like we had stepped into a freezer. The smell of mildew and oil filled the air. The lanes were coated in dust, but everything else, the ball racks, the shoes, the scoring monitors, looked oddly untouched, like someone had been maintaining it in secret. "Let's bowl 1 frame," Mark grinned, placing his phone on the console and flicking on the screen. To our shock, the monitors came alive. The name Keller was already entered. "Dude, you put that in?" I asked. "No, I didn't." The pinsetter behind lane 7 whirred to life. A bowling ball rolled down the return line, slowly, like it was pushing itself. Mark, ever the brave one, grabbed it. "All right, guess I'm up first." He stepped to the line and rolled. The ball glided perfectly down the lane and stopped, just before hitting the pins. Then it rolled backward, fast. It slammed into Mark's leg, hard. He screamed, stumbling backward. I ran to help him, but the ball, it rolled back down the lane on its own. The pins reset themselves. "Okay, this is messed up," I muttered, grabbing Mark's arm. "We're leaving." But as we turned, the overhead lights burst to life, one by one. All the lanes lit up. Balls began rolling onto the return racks from somewhere behind the scenes. Pins dropped and rose without sound. From the far end of the alley, lane 13, which hadn't been there moments ago, blinked on. A man stood at the end of it, pale, wearing a league shirt from another decade, holding a bowling pin in one hand. "Who's there?" I shouted. He raised his hand and threw the pin. It flew like a spear and embedded itself in the console next to me. Mark and I bolted toward the exit, but the back door we entered through, gone. Just a brick wall. We ran to the front, dodging balls that hurled themselves from the darkness. Mark was breathing heavy, limping badly. The lanes began warping, stretching longer and longer like optical illusions. Then I heard the whispering, "Strike! Strike! Strike!" It was coming from everywhere, inside my head. From the pins, from the ball return, even from the damn shoes. Mark collapsed near lane 13. I turned back to grab him, but Raymond Keller was there, over him. The pin raised high. I tackled Keller, or tried to. My arms went through him like he was fog. But the pin, it was real. It came down. Blood soaked the waxed wood. I don't remember running. I don't remember breaking through the front window. Just the sound of sirens later and some local cops pulling me from the roadside, screaming about pins that talk. They found nothing inside hollow lanes. No bodies. No blood. No signs anyone had been there in decades. But my friend Mark, he never came back. And sometimes when I pass by bowling alleys, I hear it again. That whisper. Strike, strike, strike. I haven't bowled since, and I never will.